As someone who is born and raised in Israel and served the Israeli military, I need to have a conversation with you. And I actually wanted to do this video for a long time, but I needed to wait to the right moment. And whenever it felt right, whenever it felt like everything that came about around this topic is integrated in me. And I think today's the day, if you see it. I want to share with you in this video what happened to me on a personal level in October 7th and what happened after, and how everything unfolded in my journey. And I think it's a really, really important information. And it's something that most places that talks about this topic, they're not going to tell you all of these things that I'm about to share with you. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah. I'm an intuitive chakra coach, energy healer, and somatic guide. Today, I want to share with you all of that topic that no one wants to talk about, but I'm going to connect it with the chakras. I'm going to connect it with the healing and awakening journey and the way I see it. I feel like a lot of people are not going to like this video from whatever side you're at, but I'm sure some people will like the video. So let's get to it. So first of all, I want to share with you that in October 7th, the first thing that happened to me when the attack on Israel happened, I went into a complete dark place in my journey. And I felt a lot of grief was coming up for me, a lot of anger, a lot of really, really old stuff that kind of been lingering for years and, generations probably. And the journey for me was, because I've been on my healing journey for the past 5 years, and when it got to the moment, it took me maybe 1 or 2 weeks to realize that being here in this place, it's not really helping nor myself or anyone else. It doesn't really help anyone. So the first question I asked myself when I decided to actually be helpful or to actually be productive with what's happening in the world, what's happening in my country, in Israel, the first question was, what can I actually do to help? That one question took me on a whole journey. As you know, I work with the chakras in my practice. I incorporate the chakra system, the energy center, the chakra map. I combine it with the physical body. So it's like I combine those two together, and this is how we work together in my practice. The thing for me, when I went into this, I was like, okay, I really need to go into my root chakra because of everything that's happening. Now, if you don't know, the root chakra, real quick, I'm going to share what that means exactly. The root chakra is the first energy center that we have. It's in the base of the spine. It's red in color. And this is the energy center that's related with safety, security, stability, belonging, basic survival needs, and groundedness, right? So our connection to the earth. Now, in this energy center, all of the groups that we came from are encoded in this root chakra, basically our roots, where we came from. So family, country we came from, culture, religion, race, species, humans. In this energy center, we also have our past lives, inner child, our childhood. A lot of generational stuff are in this energy center, as well as the collective. So a lot of the things that are happening in society program are being encoded in this energy center. So as you can see, there's a lot in this energy center, okay? In this energy center, we also have stress, anxiety, depression, and a lot of fear is being encoded in this energy center. Now, this is the energy center that's the first one that's coming online when we're still in our mother's womb. So before we even come to the world, when we're still literally in our mother's womb, we already encode information to that energy center because that's when it comes online. We already encode all the generational programming, all of the society programming, everything that's happening, we already encode that information. Now, root chakra and sacral chakra, those two, the first two, just us being humans on planet Earth without doing anything, those two are already being hijacked. Because again, there's so much in these energy centers. I'm not going to go too much on how you can start open and heal the root chakra or the chakras in general, because this is something I am definitely going to focus on in different videos. And if you want to check out more about what I do, you can check in the description below, a lot of different things. I want to share with you that when I decided to go into the root chakra, when everything started to happen, and of course I've been there before in the root chakra, but again, there's so much there. So there's so many layers, there's so much depth, and there's always more. But specifically what happened in October 7th triggered something in me that wasn't looked at before. It was looked at, but just like in a minor level, but this was like in a deeper level. I was going through this phase of, I don't want to be in that vibration of fear and hate. And I was completely like bypassing that. And what was happening is that I was afraid of being in fear. So being afraid of being in fear, I was already in fear in one way or another. And I tried to kind of like bypass it, disconnect from it. So I was continuing to go on my journey, and I was like really brainstorming with myself, how can I actually help? What can I actually do to help? And the thing that kept coming is, okay, I need to continue to do my work. I need to do my own shadow work and continue to go into my root chakra and my chakras in general and do my own healing work, and also help others, which is what I do. So for a while, I decided to kind of continue on that place and just kind of like focus on that. And I knew that it's somehow related, like it's somehow connected, but I couldn't really see the connection. I was like, I just prefer to focus my energy in my healing journey and helping others. And I don't like over there, what happens over there, it can happen over there. I don't really think that for me to put my energy in what's happening in Israel, in my country, is actually going to help myself or people there, right? Like, or actually like helping the world. So I was just trying to like focus on what's actually helpful. And then later on my journey, I'm talking like 6 months after it all happened, I ran into this interview of someone that's really well known. After watching that interview, it kind of triggered things like everything kind of got triggered again after kind of like focusing on my thing for a while there. Now looking back, I'm like, I know why it came, because there was another layer that needed to be discovered or needed to be, revealed to me on my journey. And what happened then is that I got to a place where I was like in rage. I was like so angry, and I was like in hate. I was in that super hate energy. My partner, who is neutral because he's not Jewish, he's just American, he was just kind of like looking out for me, because the way we work in our relationship, we always kind of challenge each other. And because obviously we both are people that we want to grow as human beings. And he was just pointing out to me that it looks like I'm in a very much hate annihilation energy. And in the beginning, of course, I was like, no, what are you talking about? And then he was like, babe, you're getting triggered. And so to me, every time that if someone can tell me that I'm getting triggered, or if I'm becoming aware to the fact that I'm getting triggered, that's when I can just like kind of turn the attention to me and be like, oh wait, I am getting triggered. What is happening? What's here? What's this trigger trying to show me, like the real wound, right? So there is I'm gonna just kind of put it here real quick, because there's the 6 trigger step blueprints that I like to use in my journey, and I see it also with my clients too. So the 6 steps are like that. So first step, you have a trigger, you're getting triggered. Okay. So the trigger is going to distract you from the actual wound that's over here, right? All we need to know in this moment is to become aware that we're getting triggered. If we become aware that we're getting triggered, that's huge already. The second step, usually there's a trigger response, right? So fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, just to kind of become aware of like, how am I reacting to this trigger? And then the third step is finding the actual wound. So that takes like a lot of self-reflection, right? So really going in and really feeling into like, oh, I'm wondering why I'm getting triggered. Like, what wound does it sit on, right? So then you find the actual wound deeper, and that's usually something that's way earlier in childhood. And then there is the emotion that is linked to the trauma, to the wound. So usually there's an emotion that linked that needs to be processed. Emotion is just energy and motion. So once the emotion is coming up, we want to let it move through us. And this is something I get asked a lot also, that people say like, I get the emotion, but I don't get the next step. So I want to just say, like, when we do feel the emotion of the wound, there's difference between just feeling, but like kind of like hovering around and just kind of like staying kind of stuck there for a long period of times, maybe years, right? And there's difference between really go all the way into the depth of the emotion, and like the way, like the image I see is like going all the way to the depth and like scoop it out. Like, so whenever, let's say there's grief that's coming up or anger, right? Of course, I'm talking about like processing the emotions in a conscious way when I speak about anger and stuff. But it's like almost like the way I like to explain it is like, imagine like almost become curious as you're feeling it. Where does it end? Where's the end of it? Like really going all the way to the bottom of the emotion and like scoop it out. Because again, it's just energy that wants to move. And if it doesn't move, then there's always like stuck energy at the bottom that's always like still there. And that's when we still can operate from that same wound, because we never really actually went all the way to the bottom to move that energy. Okay, so after the emotion, if we really go all the way to the bottom of it and scooping it out, then there's usually the laughter that comes after that. So the laughter is once we are really went all the way into the emotion, and the way you know that you really scoop it out, or that you went all the way to the bottom of it, is when, let's say you grieving, you're just gonna stop crying right away. Like you're just gonna, like, I'll give you an example. Like one time I found something on the left side of my body here, and it was related to my mom and the way she was talking to me as a kid. So I kept it here in my body. And I felt this, and then the tears started to come up, and I started crying, and I cried, like really going all the way to the bottom of it for like 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I just stopped. It just stopped all of a sudden like this. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. When you can feel it this way, that's when you know you really went all the way deep there. So the laughter comes after you actually move that energy. Then you can see everything from like a wider perspective. So usually the laughter is, I guess, it kind of it doesn't always happen, but I personally, when I process something, I like to kind of stay in it and give it time and integrate it. And of course, it's going to take different time to different people. Not everybody's the same around it. And then the last step for me on my journey, and like also seeing around me, is the ability to see more. So after we move that energy, we process that emotion, we really feel that wound, that trauma, then we have the ability to see more, right? So like we can see more spiritually, we can see beyond our physical eyes. And so in terms of the chakras, because I really like to work with the chakras as a map, as I mentioned before. So in terms of the chakras, the way I like to explain it is, and the way I work with clients is always starting to work on the root, working from the lower chakras. And now, if you don't know, the lower chakras, the 3 lower chakras are those that are related to this physical reality, this physical world that we live in as humans, in this human body. The 3 upper ones are related to the spiritual realm. Okay, and the heart is the bridge between the 2. Okay, so what happens is, what I've found in my journey, that the more I work on my lower chakras, the upper ones just opens up automatically. It's kind of leading you there energetically, like either open up automatically, or it's kind of going to lead you there with a natural flow type thing. So let me give you an example. Okay. I know we're kind of going off topic, but this is important if you work with triggers. So I had one time that I was processing a sexual trauma that I had when I was 4 years old. And there was someone in the room that triggered me. And obviously, like, this person had nothing to do, they didn't do anything wrong, but at that moment, they were there to trigger something in me that needed to come up. That's the way I see it. So once they were there, I felt like this sense of like darkness. Like I felt like this like super dark, and like the dark was like the trigger for me, because it was like just in the beginning when I started to connect with my darkness. So it was very scary for me. And from there, I felt this like frozen feeling. Like, so that's like my ultimate trauma response is freeze, especially in those kind of traumas. I was able to process it with the help of my guide at the moment, and I was processing it, and then there was a lot of grief that was coming up, and I started feeling that emotion all the way to the bottom of it. And then after that, we just stayed there and laughed, because there was a lot of laughter that came. It's just like, oh, we are humans, and we have this thing where we, traumas are happening, and then we carry it in our body, and then 20 years later we have to freaking process it, if we even process it. Most people don't even process it, right? So I just like, it was just this big funny thing. And then that same night when I went to bed, I saw so many things. I was shown so many things about like what's happening in the world, and the amount of people that are waking up. And there was more to it that I personally prefer to kind of keep it to myself, but because it's also has nothing to do with the story. But you see, so like the idea is that the trauma that I was working with was in the sacral chakra. Okay, it was like lower chakra thing, sacral and root, because safety, root, and sacral is like sexual trauma. And after, when I was able to process that, which was like the lower chakras, I was able to see more in my third eye, because I was able to connect more with my third eye and my crown, which was kind of like later in the night. So this is just a quick example. Anyways, back to the story, back to what happened. So my partner told me, okay, you're getting triggered. And after a few times, I was like really sitting with this thing that he was saying. And I was like, oh yeah, like I do have something, like I am noticing that I have this like really like energy that's like need to annihilate all of the people, there and stuff like that. So I was going to a corner by myself, and I was like, okay, I really want to feel the pain of my people. Okay, I really want to connect with the grief. I really want to like, I want to feel it, not just to like come from the place of, if I have something here, and that's what I thought at the time, right? I thought like, okay, I have this like rage, like unhealthy annihilation type of energy. There's probably like pain under it. That's what I thought. There's probably pain that needs to be felt, right? So I went, and I tried to do the whole thing, and I was really trying so hard to feel the pain, and I was trying so hard to cry, and I'm like, it was so hard for me to connect. And then at some point, like I was able to get a little bit of cry, and then it was like almost like nothing. I was like, okay, let me hear this song in Hebrew that's really sad and that's reminding me of home. And so like I was listening to the song, and then I started bawling, I started crying, I started feeling the pain. And then as I'm crying, I'm like, this doesn't feel, I was like, this something feels weird. It doesn't feel like, it feels like I'm trying to, and I'm not saying that there's not pain. And like, I feel like I felt a lot of the pain, or like in the beginning of when it happened. But at this specific situation, what was going on for me, it was like, I feel like I'm trying to fit into a programming of where I came from, of my roots, of where I came from. I feel like it's like the programming is here. This is the programming, and I'm like over here, and I'm trying to fit all of this into this tiny little box and stay in this little box, the programming, right? So I was like, it's like, doesn't really work for me anymore. Like, I don't think it's sustainable. Like I can't, like, I cannot fit all of me, which is like actually way more bigger in my experience. I can't fit all of that into this tiny little box. Like, it's just not gonna happen. I can't unseen what I've seen, right? So I was like, okay, well, this is coming. And I was just kind of following the emotion, and I kept crying. First of all, I saw an image of me being in a different star system, like before I was even a human. And then I saw another image of me being in Egypt. I had a past life in Egypt. And then I saw another image of me being in a past life in Greece. And then I was like, what the heck? What are we doing? Really, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Like, we all been playing all the roles, we've been in all places, and why are we like keep playing the same game. Like, it's just like stupid. And then I saw an image of like a Jewish person, like from the Israel side, and a Palestinian person from the other side. I could see an image of both of them literally killing each other. And the moment that they kill each other, they both just finally remembered. Like, the moment that they kill each other and they die in this physical realm that we live in, they all of a sudden remember who they are. And they were like, why did we waste our time about that? Like, this is so freaking stupid. I want to explain a little bit further because I was shown a lot of things after that this is why I got the actual board for, because this is a little bit complicated to explain. In the continuation of that process, the way I was shown the thing about that I'm about to share with you. Now, it may sound a little woo-woo for some people, so take it or leave it. It's totally up to you. There was two gray beings that took me on a spaceship. It was like kind of taking steps from like the top and going into the ship to the bottom. And then there was a screen, but it was weird because it was a screen and we were also inside the screen. I don't know if that makes sense. And everything that they showed me was there. And they were showing me like a lot of things, but I want to share like what they were showing me about this specific thing. There is one consciousness, one source, right? That, what people call God, what people call universe, source, divine, there's one of that, right? So everything is from that. All of that is one consciousness that we all a part of. If you don't understand what one consciousness mean, just stick around and you'll maybe understand a little. I hope you understand in a little bit. Let's say here, this is consciousness. Like horses that they have this thing on their eyes and they only see this. They don't see everything that's over here. So this is kind of what it is. And it's not like, judging people or anything like that. It's just the I mean, I was here for a very, very long time. So it's just a matter of becoming curious and expand your consciousness. And we're not going to talk about like what ways you can expand your consciousness, because there's a lot of different ways. Like, one way that I personally do it is work with the chakras and work on healing traumas and, healing past wounds and programming and all of that. But in this consciousness, usually it's very black and white. Okay, sorry for my drawing. I know it's not the best, but usually it's very black or white, right? Like, there's a lot of perspectives, and it's just like, it's this, these are the bad guys, these are the good guys, and this is very like this, right? And also, usually people that are in this level of consciousness, or this consciousness, this is what they have, this is what they see in the world, like they're inside, like they only hear and they can't see beyond this line. Those are the people that watch a lot of media, a lot of news, and so they being bombarded with all this information, with all this fear, and that's part of what keeps them in this circle, right? Because they are feeding themselves with fear, and that's what they stay in. Okay, follow me because it'll be a little bit more clear. Okay, and then there are people that are, I'm sure there's a lot of more layers, but I'm just going to talk about 3. Okay, so there are more people that are over here, and those are people that also can be very spiritual. You talk about everything that's happening in Israel and Gaza. There are dark forces, dark beings that are controlling that area, right? So it's really interesting because here's the thing. The thing that those people that are in this, yes, like they don't like see only what's happening in everything in like from a humane perspective. So they have like a really wider, like a little bit wider perspective to see they call it like a lot of people call it like consciousness war, which it is, but there's more to it. It doesn't end there. So the consciousness war, basically what people say is that there are the dark beings over here and the light beings over here, and it's basically a war between the dark and the light. right? So it's a war between the light and the dark. And we, as the light, we have to win this war. So there is also an energy of fear and energy of like war, and it's like the same energy as here, but it's just a little bit more like evolved, if that makes sense. It's just a little bit more beyond the human perspective, right? Like from our, it's more like a spiritual perspective, but it still has the same type of idea. What they were showing me in the screen, they were showing me that this one consciousness is one that's everything comes from that. So I literally saw, it was like a screen and there was like pure light, just pure light, like source, pure light. And from that source, there was almost like something that looked like ink that's like coming from that. Like, you know, like kind of like the smoke. It's coming from that and it's basically going into this like darkness, right? But it's being created from the light. It's being created from the source. Now, I know a lot of people know about that, especially people that are probably listening to this video, like that are into this type of topic. But what they were showing me, a lot of people are really gonna get offended by it, but from the other side's perspective, like from the perspective of the spirit realm, from the perspective of pure consciousness, everything that's happening on this earth and even this human experience, it's just for fun. It's just like we came here to play these games, and it's like they are so freaking funny on the other side. And like the thing that I was showing is that they are that funny. And I know it's really not funny. It's so not funny because it's very real for us in our experience. But they were showing me, we're just like playing this game and you are actually playing this game with us. Like we're co-creating this with the divine. So what I mean by that is that especially the people that are here and here, people that are in the fear consciousness, we are, from being in that consciousness, we are actually co-creating this experience on planet Earth with the divine. Okay, I'm going to say this again. When we are operating from fear and we're letting trauma, negative programming taking over our lives and decide, take the power and like, following the system and just like, the patriarchal type of agenda, by we participating in it, by we getting all these news and staying in that fear consciousness, we're actually co-creating this crap that we're seeing on our planet. We're co-creating it from that place. We have the option to co-create something different. Okay, we have the opportunity and the ability as powerful multidimensional beings. We have the opportunity and the ability to co-create magic. I'm telling you, magic. Okay. Now, the thing with the co-creating from fear is that it's unconscious. Like we're co-creating from fear our experience, whether if it's on an individual level or a collective level. We're co-creating it from doing our shadow work. So all of the shadows that we don't want to look at, and shadows, it's like anything that we judge, avoid, disown, not aware of, everything that's behind us that we can't see. And I'm going to give a few examples here in a little bit, but it's not like there's bad or good, right? It's like we came down here on planet Earth to choose what experience we want to experience, right? And we are playing roles with each other in different lifetimes, right? So let's say, I'm going to give you like a really extreme example, but let's say someone has abused me. I'm not saying it on a like it's something that happened that I'm aware of. Maybe it happened. I just don't know. Someone that abused me in this lifetime, there may be like a strong karmic connection between us that in past life, I may have killed them in a past life. So we just came to this life to play a different game. We just came to this life to just do it a little bit different. Now, I'm not saying it. It's really important for me to say that I'm not sharing all of this as a way to bypass the grief, as a way to bypass the anger, because it's really important emotions to be felt, right? But I'm saying it as a way to understand that what we're seeing and what we're so angry about, we're actually co-creating it. Like we're actually part of that creation, right? By us choosing to stay here and to keep sharing separation and hate, whatever side you're on, whatever it may look like, whatever you think you're an amazing person and you just want to help that side or whatever. But like when you come from a place where you are separating, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable to me. And it's not what we came here to do. And to me, I mean, I know, who am I, right? But it's unacceptable to you too if you want to see something different on our planet. If you want to see love and light, if you want to have a co-creation of beautiful, magical things that is actually really freaking possible, because I can know that, because I feel like I created it for my life, with my friends, with my partner. So I know on a collective level, it's something that's possible. It's something that we could do, right? So they were showing me like, okay, this is just basically a playground that you can play whatever you want to play, you can play here, and whatever you want to create, you can create. Now, for you, the person who's watching this video, you can just like decide, what do I want to see in this planet? What do I want to see? What do I want to have in this planet? And then embody that. And one way to embody that is shadow work. Okay. And we get to this topic. Now, I know I mentioned it a little bit, but I want to go a little bit into shadow work and how it looks collectively. Right. And I know if like some Jewish people are watching this, probably not going to like it, but I can speak from my own experience as a Jewish Israeli person. So when we do shadow work, it's not about blaming the other person. It's not external of you. It's not like you're saying like, hey, you're doing this and you're bad and you're like doing this. Like, okay, there may be truth to it, whatever, however you see it. However, the actual shift and change that you want to see, it starts in you. It's not this way, it goes that way, it goes inward. Okay, so on an individual level, when I do my own shadow work, is I become aware and conscious of things that I kept in my shadows, right? So things that I didn't want to look at, I'm avoiding, like I don't want to see them. Oh, this is too ugly, I don't want to see it. But even though it's really hard to see it, I bring it forward in front of my eyes, facing it, feeling it, going all the way in it. I'm just like aware of it. I can see it all right here. And I'm sure there's more, right? Because there's always more. But the idea is to keep bringing it forward, keep bringing it forward. And what happens, the more you go into the shadow, the more you go into the places that are hidden, the more you can have the life that you want to have. The more you can have peace, the more you can see more, the more you can experience all the magic, right? So the same thing goes on a collective level. So on a collective level, me as a Jewish person, we also have to do our own shadow work as a collective, right? And what is it like? What does it mean? So on my journey leading from that place, I was connecting deeply with my ancestors. And my ancestors, they're so freaking mad. They are so freaking, like, I have chills. They are raging. They are in so much pain. They are in so much pain because they want to be seen, but they don't want to just be seen for their light. They also want to be seen for their darkness. They also want to be seen for their shadows. And the problem that we have, I can speak from my experience as a Jewish person, especially where I came from. If you don't know, I grew up in a very Orthodox religious community in Israel. And of course, I'm not saying not all Jewish people are like that. There's never like, oh, all these like, putting in boxes, it's also another shadow, right? So let's talk about that later. But I'm not putting in boxes like, oh, all of the Jewish people are like that. But I'm saying a lot of it, like, it's like a programming that is like, goes back to generations and generations and generations of, I'm sure you probably heard about the idea of like the chosen people. Now, this is a huge, huge, huge shadow, and it's such a hard wiring programming. This programming goes so freaking deep into our root chakra, this belief that we're the chosen ones. And not only that we're the chosen ones, but there's also this like feeling of like victim mentality. Like there's like this victim, everybody wants to kill us, everybody wants to, you know, hurt us. Now, there may be some truth to it, but what are you choosing to like focus? Like where are you gonna choose to focus? Are you gonna choose to confront your own shadows? So the thing is that the shift that you want to see, the change that you want to see in the world, the what you want to see is not going to happen for if you keep going out there and blaming the other person and try to kill all of these people, because those people are actually the same as you on a spiritual level. We all that one consciousness, right? So we all that one part of this, like this is us. It's not like we're part of it. It's us. It's literally what we are. We're all that one single consciousness that we all a part of. But then we come to this physical world, this physical reality, this 3D reality on this planet Earth, and we are coming to one body. And so that's why we feel we're separated. But the reality is that we're not separated, because once we die and we go back to where we actually came from, our original place, that's when we remember. We just come here to play this game in this human body, which is really fun. I love it. But then we also forget the truth. And like once we die, we remember the truth. And the thing is that you don't have to die in order to remember. You can remember if you actually go within. You can remember if you are owning your shadows. If you're seeing your shadows, you bring it to the front row, you're owning it. You know how long I was like, well, I am Jewish. I'm an Israeli. I was in the Israeli army. Like I have to be like to be on that side. And let me tell you, I still have this programming sometimes. Like I can get like triggered when I hear certain things, because this is how the programming is going back, but at least I'm aware of it, right? So at least there's something, because the awareness is more than 75%. Once you're aware, you have something to work with. Now that I'm aware of it, I'm like, okay, there it is again. There it is again. Flashlight. Keep putting the flashlight on it. And then at some point, it's just like not going to exist anymore. So I guess my invitation for you, anyone who's watching it, go inward, find your own shadows. And by you doing it, even though you're just one person and you're like, I'm just this one person, I'm not going to affect anyone, you are going to affect so many people energetically and even physically. The people around you are going to be affected by you. Even if you not talk about it, you just keep it a secret. You do you keep you doing your work. You're going to affect so many people around you, but also energetically, because the energy is something that goes beyond time and space. And by me doing my work here, I know that I'm affecting my country in Israel in one way or another. I know that I'm affecting my roots because I'm looking into my ancestors' eyes and I feel their pain and I see them. I look at them like this. I look at them for the rage, for all the shadows, for the pain, for the grief, for the shame, everything, just looking at them and being with them and feeling them. Because I do it for me, but I also do it for them. I also do it for the next generations. I'll also do it for the entire planet. So it's like a win-win-win situation. Everybody's winning. It's uncomfortable. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but it's so worth it on the other side. I mean, I guess if you don't feel the resonance, it's probably not for you, and it's probably not why you came here. And that's okay, because you came here to play a different game, and that's totally fine. But the ones that are resonating with it, the one that are feeling like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. Like, oh, wow, I'm curious to start doing this. It's probably why it's probably because you came here for that. It's probably because you came here to help humanity. It's probably because you came here to raise the consciousness of humanity, which is what's kind of happening already anyways. But it's like you came to be a part of it. And it's not something that I can do it alone by myself. It's not something that you can do it alone by yourself. The more of us would do it together, the more there's going to be a ripple effect that's like stronger and stronger. And this is why, being in a community that is doing this type of work is really important. And just like find people that are resonating with you, either online, either in person. There are so many. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know in the comments if you have any comments, if you have any questions, if you have anything to share from your experience. I would love to know. And yeah, I have a free chakra guide in the description down below, so feel free to grab it. And if you are feeling called to go into one-on-one session with me to start doing this work a little bit deeper, a lot of ancestral work, past life, childhood trauma, a lot of programming. Again, the way I do it, I combine energy healing with somatic guidance, working with the chakra system. So it's going into the root cause in the energetic body instead of just like hovering in the mental, you know, like the psychological side, or just like the emotional, or just the body, but just going all the way to the root, because everything starts from energy. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope it makes sense and you enjoyed this video. If you're mad at me, that's totally okay. I have compassion for you, and I hope that you're gonna be able to shift beyond and be able to see the more expanded view on things. And again, in order for that to happen, I would get this out of my life. Don't watch the news. And go in instead of go outward externally on a personal level, collective level. Instead of going outward, just going inward. And that's what's really gonna help. So thank you.